They don't want you to hear this. The wealthy, the truly powerful would pay millions to make this message disappear. Not because it offends them, but because it exposes the truth that would set you free. You were not meant to struggle. You were not meant to chase money, fear bills, or live small. You were born to command abundance, but the world trained you to forget it. Let me speak plainly. You are not poor because of the economy, your job, your parents, or your circumstances. You are poor because no one taught you how to think, and those who did taught you to think like a beggar, not like a builder. This message is a deletion of limitation, a reprogramming of the mind, a return to the truth that riches begin with a definite chief aim backed by faith, enforced by persistence, and repeated until the subconscious accepts it as law. I do not ask you to blindly believe what I say. I challenge you. Examine every idea that enters your mind today, not based on whether it matches that enters your mind today, not based on whether it matches your current life, but whether it will create the life you desire. If the answer is yes, you must act, because the longer you hesitate, the longer you stay in someone else's plan. The longer you delay, the longer your family suffers. The longer you obey fear, the more money avoids you. But if you listen, believe, and obey, everything can change. Your finances, your confidence, your identity, your future. You were not created to survive. You were created to command. And once you understand that, you can never be poor again. Now listen closely, because the laws of wealth are about to be placed in your hands. The greatest fear of the powerful is not rebellion, it is realization. If the average man realized how close he is to wealth, the world as you know it would shift overnight. You were not born to earn scraps. You were not created to bow before banks or beg for permission to rise. Your mind was designed to rise. Your mind was designed to create wealth, but instead you were trained to wait, to obey poverty's voice, to believe that money is the reward of privilege, inheritance, or luck. But wealth is not a gift. It is a law. Most people are not poor because of lack. They are poor because of mental disorder, emotional drift, and failure to understand the principles that govern riches. The world has sold you an expensive lie. They taught you that if you work hard enough, wait long enough, and stay quiet enough, you will one day be chosen. But the truth is simpler. You must choose yourself. If you reject this truth, your life will remain tied to the world's poverty program. You will keep working for less than your worth, wondering why others rise while you circle the same old problems. You will bury your ideas, ignore your aim, delay your decisions, and obey the very system that keeps you small. But not today. Today you will understand that your bank account is not a Today you will understand that your bank account is not a mirror of your value. It is a reflection of the laws you've either obeyed or broken. You are not cursed with poverty. You are conditioned for it. Every limitation you accept, every financial ceiling you tolerate, every excuse you pretend not an employee, a partner. This was not a wish, it was a declaration. He held this thought so clearly, so relentlessly, that his entire being became magnetized toward it, and it came to pass. You must become that kind of man. Not a man who hopes, but a man who decides with fire and obeys his decision with faith. Your definite chief aim is not a poem. It is your command to the universe. It is your law. And wealth flows where command begins. The poor man the poor man speaks of prices. The rich man speaks of value. The poor man talks of cost. The rich man talks of return. The poor man asks, can I afford it? The rich man asks, what value can I build that makes it inevitable? This is not arrogance. It is the mental position required to build wealth. Every day you live without definiteness is a day you drift, and drifting leads to poverty every time. Not because the world is cruel, but because law cannot reward the vague. The man who sort of wants more shall receive sort of more. But the man who declares, I will build an income of $100,000 by this date through this method, by offering this service, that man begins to create. Now I ask you, what is your aim? Listen to me carefully. There are men of lesser ability, lesser education, and lesser background than you who now enjoy lives of freedom. Why? Because while you hesitated, they decided. The poor man waits to feel ready. The rich man acts from decision. And decision is not a feeling. It is an order issued from within. You must stop consulting your feelings for permission. Feelings follow actions, and the first fact you must install is this: I am a man who finishes what he begins. You must move forward before confidence arrives. You must decide before certainty appears, because the man who finishes first is often the man who never stops. Repeat these words: I am decisive. I move without fear. Wealth obeys my certainty. The man who finishes first is the man who never stops. I do not wait to feel ready. I act from decision. Let those words become your daily rhythm. Set your schedule based on your decisions, not your doubts. Choose one aim. Move toward it each day. Do not ask for permission. Do not wait to be seen. Decision sees itself through. The moment you act with finality, opportunities begin to appear, not because it is magic, but because focused action changes outcomes. The law of compensation rewards those who pursue their aims with discipline and persistence. The world is not withholding money from you. It rewards value, skill, and consistent execution. Decision helps make you that person. Hard work alone is not enough. Many people work tirelessly and still struggle because effort without direction produces limited results. The difference is not sweat alone, it is structure. The difference is not sweat alone, it is structure, not motion alone. It is strategy. You have been told, work harder, but countless people work until their hands crack and never achieve financial freedom. It is not effort alone that builds wealth. It is effective thought, specialized knowledge, and focused attention. You must become accurate in aim, not merely busy in motion. Andrew Carnegie did not become wealthy simply by working harder than factory workers. He understood organized knowledge, delegation, and leverage. Wealth responds to structure as much as effort. The man who says, I'm always working, is often the one who is always struggling. He mistakes activity for progress. But the man who asks, what is the one action today that produces the greatest result, begins to multiply his impact. Efficiency is a seed of wealth. Specialized knowledge is one of the cornerstones of success. Find what you do best and become exceptional at it. Your wealth is not determined solely by the number of hours you work, but by the value you create. You must learn to trade value, not only time. Money flows toward usefulness, problem solving, and results. The person who expands knowledge, directs attention with purpose, and moves strategically becomes increasingly difficult to stop. He builds not only income, but influence. Here's a command. Stop scattering your attention. Fix your attention on one worthy aim and pursue it with accurate thinking and daily planning. The man who does this becomes valuable because of the quality of his thinking. Consider Charles M. Schwab. He began in humble circumstances, but he studied, improved processes, and positioned himself effectively until he became president of Bethlehem Steel. He did not rely on hard work alone. He combined effort with organized intelligence. You must control your attention. Guard your mind like a vault. Every moment lost to pointless distraction is a moment not invested in your future. Your mind is your capital. Train it to think in systems, not just tasks. In leverage, not just labor. Repeat this truth to yourself. I do not rely only on time for income. I create value. I train my attention. I control my direction. I multiply my effectiveness. My mind is my capital. My value can continue to grow. These are not merely phrases. They are instructions. Repeat them until they become habits. Repeat them until your mind begins producing ideas, plans, and connections that support the future you intend to build. Now remember this. Your current income is not the limit of your value. It is a reflection of your current awareness, skills, opportunities, and as you expand your knowledge, discipline, and effectiveness, your results can expand as well, but only if you act consistently. Do not confuse motion with progress. Do not confuse struggle with significance. The world does not reward you for being tired. It rewards you for creating value. Every great fortune was built not by work alone, but by thought applied with persistence, skill, and execution. Train your mind, specialize your knowledge, Control your attention. Organize your plan. Then move. Riches do not fall from the sky. They do not arrive by accident. They are rarely gifted by luck alone. They are usually created through value, discipline, opportunity, and sustained effort. Wealth is the visible expression of many invisible factors: habits, decisions, relationships, skills, timing, and persistence. Decisions, relationships, skills, timing, and persistence. If you do not yet have the results you desire, focus on strengthening those foundations. The first law is habit. Anything you think, practice, and repeat consistently becomes easier and more automatic. Success and failure both grow through repeated patterns. Your thinking has a rhythm. If your thinking is chaotic, your actions often become chaotic. If your thinking is organized, your actions become more effective. Every thought is a seed. Every repetition is water. Every action is nourishment. What you plant repeatedly tends to grow. This is why self-suggestion can be powerful, not because words alone create wealth, but because repeated thoughts influence attention, behavior, and decision-making. If you still live in scarcity, it may be because old habits, beliefs, or circumstances continue to shape your choices. The good news is that habits can be changed. That process begins with new instructions. Write your goals. Review them daily. Visualize success if it helps you stay focused. Move forward every day, even when the steps seem small. Avoid allowing doubt to become inaction. Many people fail because they treat success as an event instead of a practice. They write goals once and forget because they treat success as an event instead of a practice. They write goals once and forget them. They act once and stop. They visit discipline rather than living within it. Consistency matters more than intensity. You must become steady in purpose, committed in action, and resilient in setbacks. Repeat this. I live by discipline. I rise through consistent action. I grow through repetition. Every day I improve. Every day I move forward. Every day I strengthen my future. Your results will reflect the habits you install. Your future will reflect the standards you maintain. You do not need perfect luck. You need consistent action. Poverty is often more than a financial condition. It can become a condition of expectation. It begins when a person stops imagining a better future. Condition of expectation. It begins when a person stops imagining a better future. You cannot rise far above the image you hold of yourself. Many limiting beliefs are learned. We can't afford that. That's not for people like us. People like me never get ahead. Repeated often enough, these ideas become mental boundaries. One of the strongest barriers is the fear of poverty. It causes people to avoid risks, ignore opportunities, and settle for less than they want. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It whispers that now is not the time, that you should wait, that you should stay where it is safe. But growth rarely lives inside comfort. If you want a different future, you must challenge limiting beliefs. Identify the phrases that hold you back, replace them with stronger instructions, repeat them, act on them, build evidence through repeat them, act on them, build evidence through action. Say this: I am growing beyond the fear of poverty. I am developing skills and creating value. What I practice, I strengthen. What I believe, I pursue. What I pursue consistently, I improve. You will never consistently outperform the identity you accept. If you see yourself only as a struggler, you will often behave like one. If you see yourself as a builder, a learner, and a creator of value, your actions begin to align with that identity. Wealth does not create character. It reveals and amplifies it. If you were raised around scarcity, you can rewrite your self-image. If you were taught to play small, you can choose a larger vision. The door is open. Walk through it. Refuse to apologize for your ambition. Refuse to surrender to doubt. Speak about your future with intention. My thoughts create structure. My actions create results. My habits shape my future. Every day, reinforce the person you intend to become. Eventually, your behavior begins to match that vision. Eventually, your behavior begins to match that vision. The world rewards action more than caution. It rewards execution more than hesitation. Success often follows conviction paired with effort. Money tends to flow toward people who solve problems, create value, and persist long enough to be noticed. Thomas Edison faced thousands of failed attempts while developing practical electric lighting. What kept him moving was not certainty of success, but commitment to the goal. You must believe not only that success is possible, but that the work is worth doing. Write your vision. Review it daily. Hold on to it when no one applauds. Hold on to it when progress feels slow. Because wishes build little. Consistent action builds everything. Write this down. My actions match my goals. My discipline strengthens my future. I move with purpose. I create value. I learn, adapt, and persist. Plant those words daily. Belief is a seed. Action is water. Persistence is sunlight. To get words daily. Belief is a seed. Action is water. Persistence is sunlight. Together, they produce results. You cannot walk into a larger future with the same identity that keeps you stuck. The person who receives greater responsibility must become greater in discipline, clarity, and character. You will rarely keep what you are not prepared to manage. This is why growth matters as much as achievement. The mind influences reality through the decisions it produces. If you think only in terms of survival, you will often remain in survival mode. If you think in terms of creation, contribution, and growth, your actions begin moving in that direction. How do you change? In that direction. How do you change? Through daily identity building. Do not wait for the world to call you worthy. Train yourself. Every morning before distractions arrive, remind yourself, I am growing, I am building, I am becoming more capable. I move with purpose. I think in systems. I live with discipline. I create value. And I continue moving forward. You must speak these words until they feel real, until they replace the old image. Then act as this person would act. Decide as this person would decide. Say no to what does not align with the future you are building. Your environment often begins to reflect the standards you consistently maintain. Now add to this the power of a strong circle. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who think bigger, who encourage growth and accountability. A single conversation with a focused, disciplined person can change the direction of your life. If you are surrounded by those who drift, you may drift. If you are surrounded by those who build, you are more likely to build. The company you keep influences the identity you develop. Choose wisely. Let your circle become both your mirror and your multiplier. Identity is built, not given. And wealth often follows identity. Say this, I do not merely seek success, I grow into it. I do not pretend to be wealthy. I become more wealthy. I become more capable, valuable, and disciplined every day. Every thought shapes the person I become. Every action reinforces that person. These are not empty affirmations. They are reminders. When repeated consistently and supported by action, they become habits. And habits shape outcomes. You must become the person before you consistently receive the results. As your character, discipline, and competence grow, your opportunities often grow with them. The final principle is this: what you consistently practice tends to multiply. Discipline grows through discipline. Focus grows through focus. Value grows through value. You were not placed here merely to survive. You were placed here to create, contribute, and grow. But growth does not come through occasional effort. It comes through consistent commitment. Ask yourself, do you have a clear goal? Have you written it down? Do you review it regularly? Do your daily actions support it? Have you built habits that move you toward it? Or have you listened, agreed, and then returned to the same patterns? If you cannot answer with certainty, return to the fundamentals. Review your goals. Strengthen your habits. Rebuild your routines. Repeat the process until it becomes second nature. Success is not usually the reward of inspiration. It is the consequence of daily execution. Write this: I earn success through who I become. I act with purpose. I honor my commitments. I move forward every day. I create value. Understand this: you are either moving intentionally or drifting unintentionally. There is rarely a middle ground. If you are not reinforcing productive habits, unproductive habits will often take their place. If you are not moving toward your goals, you are usually moving away from them. Progress belongs to those who continue choosing it. Remember, wealth is not a miracle. It is usually the result of skills, value creation, discipline, relationships, opportunity, and persistence. Poverty is not a permanent identity. For many people, it is a condition that can be improved through growth and action. Faith without action changes little. Repetition creates habits. Habits create results. From this day forward, carry this declaration: this is the day I stop reinforcing limitation. I think bigger. I act with purpose. I train my mind. I strengthen my habits. I build a better future through consistent action. Review these ideas often. Treat them not as entertainment, but as principles to test and apply. Repeat them until they become part of your daily thinking. Practice them until they become part of your character. If you do, the rewards may extend far beyond money. You may gain confidence. You may gain peace. You may gain purpose. You may gain the ability to create opportunities for yourself and others. In the ability to create opportunities for yourself and others. The ideas are now in your hands. What you do next is what matters most.